Are we in focus yet? The idea for this video came about because this past month represents 2 years of me living full-time authentically as myself. And so what that means is that I was assigned male at birth, and now I live my full authentic life as a female in the world, as a woman in the world, dealing with all the stuff that every other woman in their 40s deals with. And in this video, I'm going to cover 5 things that you need to know before you go full-time. And if you think that's going to help you, if you're considering transition or you've wondered what it's like for someone to make that leap across genders, stick around and let's get at it. Hi, my name is Kate Madden and I live in Vancouver, British Columbia on unceded coastal Salish territory. If you have found any of my previous videos valuable, or if you like this video, please take a moment to subscribe. Hit the like button and maybe share a comment with something that's resonated with you in the comments there below. I might not respond to every comment, but I do read every comment, even the shitty ones. I think it's really important to acknowledge that going full-time is scary. Coming out is scary, but you know, like the closet is comfortable and you don't necessarily need to go. You don't necessarily come out at the same time that you go full-time. So for me, I came out about 6 months prior to going full-time. And, you know, in those moments, you know, between coming out and going full-time, you are never at your most vulnerable. And the closet is really fueled by shame and by secrecy. And it's this false comfort that gives us warmth to stay in that state of untruth and inauthenticity. Prior to coming out, prior to going full-time, really you build up these walls, and the walls protect you from having to reveal your authentic self because you never show others who you really are. And now you have an opportunity to step into the authenticity. The prospect of sharing yourself, though, means that there might be consequences. There might be consequences professionally. There might be consequences with relationships. If you're married, it might mean the end of your marriage. You might face ostracization from your family or being excluded from events or loss of friendship as well. Personally, I waited 40 years before I came out, before I transitioned. Some start earlier, some start later. There's no timeline, and we all come to the right space when it makes sense for us to take the leap. Regardless of age, regardless of societal position or professional situation, the questions I hear posed in direct messages, in comments on previous videos, I see it on different online platforms, on Instagram, on Reddit, Facebook. The questions that come from people who are considering going full-time or considering coming out are always almost universally based out of fear. Like, what am I going to lose? What is going to happen to my family? What is going to happen to my job? And I think the one question that we all really face, will anyone love me? So yeah, it's scary. And there's no way around it. One of the things that I've come to realize as I've watched dozens and dozens of people take that leap into the unknown is that there's no good time. You know, you can sit there and you can wait. You know, if I just wait till my kids are older, you know, if I wait till my spouse comes around, if I wait till I get that promotion at work or I buy that house, I have some more financial security. I've seen people spend years planning it out. You know, I have 2 friends who, you know, were both on hormones for more than a decade before they finally came out and went full-time. I've talked to people who literally have like a project plan, you know, going back, you know, a couple of years and forward a couple of years. You know, this is when they're going to do hair removal. This is when they're going to do the voice training. This is when they're going to start hormone therapy and so on. And we all approach this, you know, in our own way, on our own timeline, and there is no right way ultimately. For myself, it got to the point where it's life or death, and I was just thinking about how much I wanted to die and I couldn't keep living that lie anymore. And so I really got to a point where I just ran out of the burning building, screaming with my hair on fire, rolling around on the grass, trying to put the flames out. And I made a few mistakes, and I didn't approach it with a lot of grace. I think the word I would use to describe my own time, that first kind of 8 to 12 months of between coming out and going full time, the word I would use is desperation. Just to be seen, to be known. And you can go through my old Instagram posts and Reddit posts and some of my older videos, and I think that comes through, just a desire to be seen and known after years of not being seen. I think one thing that I learned though through that process is that you realize it's scary and you do it anyways. And that's when you're ready, regardless of how long you've taken to plan or how much more you have to do. It's scary and you just do it anyways. You can go back to my very first video where I donate all my men's clothes, and I went full time with like 2 skirts and a handful of tops. I didn't know anything about makeup at all at that point. It would be a couple more weeks till I met my friend Megan, who showed me a whole bunch of things. And so yeah, it's easier than you think to make the leap. You don't need a big wardrobe. You don't need excellent makeup skills. You don't need to have perfect hair removal. I had only been, I think, 4 or 5 sessions of laser hair removal at the time. I was about 6 months on HRT, 5 months on HRT when I went full time. Yeah, it's easier than you think, and people are going to help you as well. You know, for me, one of the key considerations was professional, and you know, I'd been working with my boss in HR, and we were going to plan this whole thing out, and it was going to be like this communication, and you know, I was like, oh, well, I'll do it 6 months from now. I really wanted to wait. I just kept putting it off because of that fear. But because it had already come out, I was invited to march in the Pride Parade with my company. And so I did that, you know, and I'm marching with the regional vice president, I'm marching with coworkers, people who know me, and I was wearing makeup and presenting female for the first time around coworkers. And, you know, that was on a Sunday or Saturday. It was Labor Day long weekend. And it's just like, you know, fuck it. Like, why would I go back to work in a suit and tie now that everyone's seen me and I'm already out? And so I just pulled the trigger, talked to my boss and said, I'm doing it. And that was that, because I just needed to do it. And while, yes, it is easier than you think it is, it's not without difficulty. Dead naming sucks. Like that's a dagger, and that's really hard from family, who especially want to pass because of how long they've known you. And there is some gentleness required and some patience required. However, for me, you know, 2 years later, I have 0 patience now, and I assertively correct people. Misgendering will be difficult at first, in public, or at work, or with family. I still am misgendered by people in my family. Out of self-respect, I correct people every single time, even my 6-year-old. And, you know, different people require different types of correction. Some people with whom I know that I don't want a relationship with, or that I'm just required to talk to about certain things, I've stopped correcting them, or I might casually ask a question. But it's a hard thing, the misgendering and the dead naming, and it doesn't go away magically overnight. A point of pain for me was retail workers, cashiers, gas station employees, waitresses, waiters, that sort of thing. People who are dealing with high volume public situations, just not taking the time, even if I was in a dress and heels. My hair was very short at the time. And so, while I don't get misgendered ever by people, in that situation now, two years later, it was really hard at the time, and I would get really upset with people, like a cashier or a clerk or what have you. But you need to have the fearless self-respect to correct people. It's typically out of laziness, it's out of ignorance, it's out of a lack of understanding. And if someone's trying to hurt you or be malicious about it, just remove them from your life. Like, even if they're a family member, a longtime friend, you don't need that toxicity in your life at all. And yeah, like, you will lose people along the way. But as you lose people, others will enter your life as well, because people are cheering for you. People are rooting for you. Professionally, in that first month, I was a work from home, I was a telecommuter, so it was a lot easier for me than someone in an office setting or a warehouse setting, manufacturing, construction, what have you. And what I was able to do was I was able to contact trusted coworkers who obviously already knew because I had come out, and we set up lunch dates, coffee dates, drinks, that sort of thing. And I was just able to acclimatize myself professionally as well as socially to my new life in that authentic way. And I'm very grateful to those people who helped me early on, kind of test the waters, so to speak. But people do want you to succeed. They want to see you happy. And I look back at those first kind of 2-3 months of going full time, and people gave me makeup, people gave me clothes, people gave me money to go shopping, people took me shopping, people taught me stuff about like makeup or how to carry myself. And like across every aspect of my life, I was overwhelmed by friendship, love, support, and kindness. It was absolutely unlike anything I had experienced prior in my life. And so yeah, as new people entered my life, or old relationships deepened, those people really helped in those turbulent early days in a way that made things a lot more manageable. Coming out of the closet is terrifying. Like we've already talked about how comforting the shame and secrecy is, and vulnerability required to step out authentically. But you can't help but wonder that first step out into the world in heels or in a skirt, or you've got your hair done, your makeup is done, and like you're gonna try your best, but it's still not going to. You're still gonna feel really self-conscious, and you're going to be terrified. Like, what are people thinking? What are people staring at? Why are they staring at me? But as you walk down the street, as you struggle to walk down the street in heels for the first time, or as you are trying to figure out how to sit in a skirt or a dress or what have you, you'll find out that nobody really cares, and people are just consumed with their own lives. And they'll just ignore you for the most part. Yes, there will be stares. And it's hard sometimes to, like, I've gotten used to them 2 years later, and it's only with the most kind of egregious, kind of long stare. And it's usually when they hear me talk, someone will start staring at me, or a long side eye, or what have you, and I might challenge them. One of the things I say is, your first look is free, and I'm going to charge you for your second look. And so I might embarrass you in front of your friends or call you out. There might be times when you don't feel safe walking down the street at night. You'll learn to adapt, you'll learn to adjust your schedule, to carry things. I'll carry my keys with the key between my fingers like this, sometimes if I'm not feeling comfortable with where I'm at. But keep in mind, if you've been on hormone replacement therapy or estrogen for any period of time, you have muscle atrophy. And this is something I've learned the hard way. Your brain still thinks you can do the things that you used to be able to do physically, but like I can barely open a jar of pickles, for example, because yeah, like your muscles, you lose muscle through atrophy. So just keep that in mind and be safe in those moments. As you start to live your life, and as you know, people around you, just random strangers, people on the bus, whatever, they're living their life, you realize that finally you've done it, and you know, you're just boring like everyone else, and you're totally normal. And that feeling of peace that comes from that normalcy, I think is my favorite part of transition, to just have to deal with my life in the same way as everyone else, with the same set of tools, finally as myself. And that's what makes it worth it. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have a moment, please leave a comment what has helped the most. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And as always, here's to life.